Did you know that the act of gardening has a profound impact on your mental health? It reduces stress, anxiety, and depression while promoting relaxation and mindfulness. The connection with nature has therapeutic effects, improving mood and overall well being. Gardening also offers a sense of purpose, accomplishment, and satisfaction as you witness the growth and the blooming of your plants. So, why wouldn't you want to learn how to garden and raise garden beds? Gardening is hard work, and through this speech, you will learn how to grow a garden and raise garden beds with intention and with purpose. Purposeful gardens are a way to maximize intention within your raised garden beds. Over the past year, I have found myself doing much more gardening. I aided in the planning of my community native species garden and managed my own vegetable and herb garden. And in this presentation, I will discuss how to get your garden beds ready, how to plan your garden, and how to maintain your garden. So, getting the garden bed ready. So the first step is having the soil ready. Having a growth medium is important to growing anything, whether you're growing something hydroponically or in water, or you're growing something using soil as the medium. So fertilizing the soil for plants is essential to allowing them to grow. Realize that different plants need different nutrients. For example, cucumbers need nitrogen and plenty of nutrients in order to produce properly ripened cucumbers. And in contrast, fig trees need a very specific balance of NPK, which is a mixture of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So choose a fertilizer that has a good balance, generally an 8-8-8 blend, like 888, which is a mixture of 8% nitrogen, 8% phosphorus, and 8% potassium. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to manage your lighting. Having proper lighting for your plants is incredibly important, as this allows for proper photosynthesis to occur. So while growing plants that require full sun, partial sun, diluted sun, and everything else, you need to know which plants require which. When growing plants outside of their native habitat, it's important to think about the type of light that those plants would receive in their native habitat. According to allaboutgardening.com, a monstera plant typically grows in tropical rainforests of Central and South America. They generally climb up nearby trees with the help of their aerial roots. The climbing nature of the monstera species helps to limit competition on the ground and gives them access to higher light levels that would be found on the forest floor. However, they are still heavily shaded from the tree canopies above, receiving a full day of dappled sunlight through the trees. By doing research on the plant's natural habitat, we can observe and provide the closest environment to it by regulating the light, water, and soil that the plant receives. Adequate water is another part of getting your raised garden beds ready. Properly watering plants to make sure that they stay moist but not waterlogged is incredibly important. Make sure that you water according to what the plant needs. A plant native to the desert will need less water than one that's native to the rainforest. Since we're planting in raised garden beds, it's important to note that shady areas of the garden will stay a lot more moist and then the sunnier areas will be drier. So now that I've talked to you about getting your garden bed ready, I'm going to discuss how to plan the purpose of your garden. So the main thing that you need to plan in your garden is planning out the space. Creating a thorough layout for your garden is important. The plan needs to include things such as the things we've talked previously, the light, the moisture. I briefly touched on how shade impacts the moisture in the soil, and the planning of your garden should reflect that you plan to keep shade and moisture in the forefront of your mind. Next, we're going to talk about the purpose of your garden. Think about what you want the primary purpose of your garden to be. So, one of the purposes of your garden can be a fruit or vegetable garden or an herb garden. So these would be gardens that are used to provide edibles. There's another type of this garden that is organic garden, which is a way that you can grow without using any pesticides or anything that's going to be genetically modified. Then there are themed or demonstration gardens. So these were gardens that would include like a memory garden, which is a garden that is created in memory of a person, generally incorporating their favorite flowers, their favorite herbs, or specific messages that you would like to remember this person by. Then there are pollinator and butterfly gardens, also known as flower gardens, and they are meant to bring all kinds of different butterflies and bees into your space and being able to pollinate and receive nectar. So now that I've given you an idea of possible garden purposes, I will discuss how to maintain your garden. So maintaining your garden. According to Geopard Agriculture, weeds are plants that are allowed to grow in an area where their growth is not desired by a farmer because they either limit or disrupt a plant's growth and production of crops. They do this by competing with the crops for limited resources like water, nutrients, and sunlight. They are characterized by their ability to swiftly populate large areas through rapid reproduction and dispersal. So weeding is a big part of maintaining your garden, making sure that they are not allowed to choke out any part of your garden, and you want to remove those as quickly as possible and at the root as possible. Then we want to fertilize the garden when we notice that a certain plant isn't doing as well as normal. Generally, it's because there's not enough nutrients in the soil. So do your proper research to find out why the plant is behaving the way it is and then act accordingly. And then finally, deadheading. According to Pennsylvania State University, it is the process of pruning old growth and seed heads to promote new growth and reflowering. Deadheading is very simple. As the blooms fade, pinch off or cut off the flower stems below the spent flowers and just above the first set of full healthy leaves. This really does encourage growth and helps you to have the most productive garden as possible. So now that I've given you all of the basic information about how to grow your own purposeful garden, I would like to review them. So a purposeful garden is started just to get the first thing that you want to do is get your garden beds ready and make sure that your soil moisture and lighting is correct. Then planning out how you want to plant your garden. That's another key aspect of planning your purposeful garden. Then the last step is maintaining your garden, which revolves around weeding, fertilizing, and deadheading. I hope that you now have a firm understanding on how to begin a purposeful garden, and I wish you the best of luck on your gardening endeavors. As I leave you with one final piece of advice. As a landscape artist, Thomas Rayner says, "Pretty is out and purpose is in."